You have $400 sitting in the wrong account, and your family thinks that makes you responsible. The truth is, that single habit is quietly turning you into the richest person at the dinner table. Most people don't realize why. Picture this. Your cousin just pulled into the driveway in a brand new SUV. Chrome trim, panoramic roof, a monthly payment nobody talks about. Your aunt is already taking pictures for the family. And there you are, in the same used sedan you've driven for 7 years, sipping coffee, saying almost nothing. Everyone at the table assumes he's winning. Everyone assumes you're falling behind. Here's the thing. They're wrong. The scoreboard your family uses was designed by advertisers, not accountants. And this video will show you why. By the end, you'll see 5 quiet signs that flip that ranking completely. Sign 1. Your family mocks. Let's break it down. Every family scores wealth by 3 things: cars, square footage, and vacation photos online. That's what gets discussed at holidays. That's what decides who's supposedly winning. Here's the actual problem, though. That scoreboard measures spending, not wealth. Looking wealthy requires monthly payments. Being wealthy requires monthly deposits instead. Those are almost opposite activities. Your relatives confuse income with net worth. They see salary and assume savings. But a 6-figure salary with 6-figure spending equals 0. A modest salary with 30% savings builds fortune. The driveway lies. The vacation photos lie. Only the brokerage statement 15 years from now tells the truth. So while your family ranks each other on visible props, the quietest cousin is almost always accidentally winning. And the very first sign of that quiet winning is the one your family probably mocks you for. Sign 1. You underspend relative to your income. Notice I didn't say you're broke or can't afford things. I said you underspend relative to what you earn. That gap between income and outflow is the entire game. Everything else is decoration. You drive the same car you bought 8 years ago, and it still runs fine. It's paid off. You have 0 interest in replacing it just because a coworker rolled up in something newer. When you got your last raise, your lifestyle didn't move an inch. You didn't upgrade your apartment or groceries. You didn't upgrade your weekend plans either. You quietly widened the gap between earning and spending, month after month. That gap is what your family calls cheap. They call you cheap when you skip the fancy group dinner. They call you cheap when you decline the destination wedding, or when you keep a phone that still works. But cheap and smart look identical from the outside. The difference only shows up on a private balance sheet. A balance sheet nobody at that dinner table will ever see. Here's the hidden cost of the alternative path. It's called lifestyle creep. Every raise, the average person expands their expenses to match, dollar for dollar. New car, bigger apartment, nicer restaurants, subscriptions they'll never cancel. The raise disappears within about 90 days. Then the next raise disappears the exact same way. 10 years of raises, 0 change in net worth. The average person is on a treadmill and calls it success. You stepped off the treadmill quietly. Nobody clapped, nobody noticed. That's the point. Sign number 2 explains why raises quietly destroy your siblings. Sign number 2. You track your savings rate, not your salary. Here's a question most people never ask themselves. What percentage of your take-home pay actually stays with you? Not the gross number on the offer letter, not the salary you tell people at parties. The percentage that survives the month and actually grows. That number is your savings rate, and it's the single most important number in personal finance nobody talks about. A 20% savings rate quietly beats a lot of six-figure earners who save nothing every single month. A 30% rate puts you in a completely different category, a different trajectory of long-term wealth building. A 50% rate, if you can reach it, mathematically retires you in about 17 years, regardless of salary. That's not motivation. That's arithmetic. And here's the mechanism. You automate the transfer before the bills hit. The moment your paycheck lands, a fixed percentage moves to savings and investments. You never see it, you never touch it. You budget on what's left. Your family budgets on what they hope is left. Those are two completely different worlds. Most people don't realize that rate beats income almost every single time. Someone earning $60,000 who saves 30% will out-accumulate someone earning $120,000 saving 5%. Same country, same decade, same math. One person built a wealth machine. The other person just built a lifestyle. Sign number 3 is invisible on social media, but it shows up loud and clear on tax returns. Sign number 3. Your investing is boring. Almost embarrassingly boring. You don't have hot tickers or lucky trades. You don't have a coin to the moon story. You have a low-cost index fund, maybe 2, maybe 3 at most. You buy it every month. You don't check it every day. When your cousin mentions the latest hot thing, you nod politely and change the subject. Here's why that boring behavior actually wins the long game. The average investor consistently underperforms the market they're invested in, not by a little, by a lot, because they buy high, panic, sell low, wait, then buy back in at the next peak. They chase, they react, they confuse activity with progress. You don't. You buy on a schedule, up or down, especially when the market is down. When your family panics about the news, you're quietly buying at a discount. That's the whole trick. Compounding doesn't reward genius, it rewards presence. It rewards the person who kept showing up. 10% per year sounds unremarkable, but 10% for 30 years turns $1 into roughly 17. And that's before you add another dollar next month, and another after that. It compounds. The average investor never sees that curve because they get scared off the ride around year 4. You just keep sitting there. Sign number 4 is a mindset your parents probably never taught you. Sign number 4, you are calm around money. Genuinely calm. Not performing calm, not pretending, actually calm. When a bill arrives, your heart rate doesn't spike. When your balance drops after a purchase, no panic. When someone brings up money at dinner, you don't tighten up or go quiet. You engage openly. Because it's just a number, and numbers respond to attention. You read your statements instead of avoiding them. That single habit puts you in maybe the top 10% of adults instantly. Most people never open theirs. They feel vague dread and swipe the envelope into a drawer. You open yours, notice the leaks, adjust. Boring, but effective. Here's the other half. You say no without guilt, without a speech, without apology. Your uncle wants a loan. Your cousin pitches a business idea. Your friend wants a vacation twice your budget. You decline cleanly, without a 2-week internal argument. That single boundary is worth thousands of dollars every year, because family loans have a repayment rate you really don't want to look up. Trust me on this. Guilt-driven spending is the fastest way to shred the savings rate you worked so hard to build. Emotional regulation is a wealth multiplier, not a personality trait, a skill, and it compounds like money does. Sign number 5 is the one nobody sees coming, including you, and it quietly changes everything now. Sign number 5, you think in decades, not paydays. This separates the quietly getting rich from the merely careful. Because careful people still think in months. They budget monthly, plan monthly, celebrate good months, stress about bad ones. You've stopped doing that. You still track the month, but your decisions are filtered through a 10-year lens, sometimes a 20-year lens. When you consider a purchase, you don't ask if you can afford it this month. You ask what that money's worth in 15 years if invested. It kills 80% of impulse buys. When you pick an account, you don't just open whatever your bank suggests. You stack them deliberately. A Roth for tax-free growth later. An HSA if eligible. Arguably the most powerful account in the tax code. A regular brokerage for flexibility. Each one has a job. Each is doing that job while you sleep. And here's the part that never shows up on any family scoreboard. The compounding curve looks almost flat early. For the first 10 years, you're saving, investing, doing everything right. And it looks like nothing is happening. Your flashier cousin is clearly ahead. On paper, on Instagram, on the driveway. Then, around year 15, something shifts. The curve starts to bend. And around year 20, it goes nearly vertical. Wealth and looking wealthy diverge completely. They become different species. And now here's the twist. One of these 5 signs is actually a trap. Here's the truth. Frugality without investing is just poverty in disguise. You save hard, stay calm, but hoard cash? If your money just sits in checking, you aren't building wealth. You're losing it, slowly, quietly, predictably. Inflation is a tax nobody sends you a bill for. Roughly 3% yearly on average over long stretches. Cash in a low-yield account loses purchasing power every single month you own it. Every month. Quietly bleeding. 10 years later, you technically have more dollars, but you're materially poorer. That, my friend, is the trap. Cash hoarders think they're winning because the account number never drops. But watch what that money can actually buy. That real number, purchasing power, is shrinking the whole time. This is why the signs work together. Saving without investing is half a strategy. Investing without saving is impossible. Calm without a plan is just apathy. Thinking long-term without automation is daydreaming. One sign alone builds nothing. All 5 together build something undeniable. Something your family won't understand until it's too obvious to argue with. Here's the 20-year projection that proves it. Let's break it down with actual math. Imagine two cousins, same age, same exact starting point today. One is your flashy cousin with the SUV. Every raise gets absorbed, every bonus becomes an upgrade. Zero long-term investing, yet he looks rich the entire time. The other cousin is you, quietly building. You invest $500 a month into a boring diversified index fund. That's it. Nothing clever. $500 a month, every month, no matter what the news or your feelings say that day. At an 8% long-term average, in 20 years that quiet habit becomes roughly $250,000. Meanwhile, your flashy cousin's SUV is worth maybe $8,000, and a newer one already replaced it twice. His net worth is roughly the same as when he started. Yours has $250,000 behind it. That's the gap the family scoreboard cannot see. That's the gap that decides who helps whom later. That's the gap that decides whether your kids start from zero or actually start from somewhere real. And the framework to get there is embarrassingly simple. 4 steps, and honestly, none of them are clever. Track your savings rate. Actually calculate it this week. No guessing, no vibes, just the real number. Automate the monthly transfer so willpower is never involved in whether the money actually gets invested at all. Invest into low-cost, boring, diversified index funds on a fixed schedule. Then wait without flinching for compounding. That's it. That's the whole thing. Ignore the family scoreboard entirely. It was built to sell cars and vacations. It was never built to measure what you're actually doing with your money. Quietly, month after month. The people quietly winning are almost never the people quietly bragging about it at the family dinner. They're the ones you'd never suspect. Driving the older car, ordering the cheaper thing, saying no. Saying yes to the automatic transfer every single month for decades. That is honestly the whole quiet game. One last thing before you close this video. There's a hidden cost most people never talk about. The cost of helping family financially once they realize you're the one who actually has it together. That's a whole different video, and it's coming next. The awkward part nobody warns you about. If you want to understand how money actually works, instead of how it's advertised, subscribe to Andy Explains Money. We'll keep making smarter money moves, one boring, quiet, undeniable habit